Hey, it's Jason, and I want to talk to you today about a new offering from the International Society of Bassists, the ISB, and this is an initiative started by Adam Booker and Miles Brown, two past podcast guests. It's a youth jazz competition, and we've got Miles and Adam on the line to talk about this.
So let's hop into it. Tell me about this project that you guys have in store.
Okay, so at the last ISB, which, you know, like every other ISB is absolutely amazing and everybody needs to go if you play the bass. One of the things that I personally noticed, and it's been just the way it has been for so long, is that, you know, you in the competition categories, you have the 18 to 31 for in the classical solo competition. Let's use that as a model here. So it's like 18-31 and 14 to 18 or something along those lines. The one thing that I did notice was that what we didn't have was like a youth jazz bass competition. And I guess me having a fit of activism for once in my life said, hey, you know, maybe we should allow some of the younger bass players in on this. You know, maybe I know I started playing gigs when I was like 15 years old, somewhere around there. So I was already heavy into the jazz thing by then. And I'm pretty sure, Miles, you were probably somewhere close to that too. So, you know, there's younger bass players out there that are exploring this idiom, and it would be great for the ISB to start incorporating that into the conventions. And of course some kind of incentive to do these kind of things would be great. So Miles and I had talked about it briefly at the last ISB, and then we kind of once in a while we'd broach, oh hey, what about that thing? Oh, that's a cool thing. And Nick Walker, actually, we broached the subject with him at the last ISB. He's like, that's a great idea. Figured out. Okay, cool. So I reached out to Miles, and Miles and I have been kind of slowly but surely just working on the project. Between the two of us, we've contacted, I contacted a couple of our great ISB members, more from the jazz side of the house, like Pete Dominguez and Lynn Seaton, and, you know, asked for advice. They gave me advice, and then finally we just forwarded the idea to Madeline, and she's like, this is great. I love this idea. Oh, Doug Mapp is definitely in the mix on this one too. So, you know, once we actually voiced this out into the universe, everybody thought it was a great idea. And of course, like all great ideas, we got to work on it. So, you know, be careful when you have great ideas. You do get to work on it. But this is one thing that I know Miles and I were very happy to work on. Sandor Oslin, who's the chair of all the competitions and everything, we've ran all this stuff through him. So I'm happy to announce that at the very next ISB, whether it be live or online, we're praying for live, we are going to have a 14 to 18 category for jazz bass in the competition cycle.
Cool. So tell me about how that's going to be structured in terms of, and you may not have all these details in place, but application, what are they going to play? And obviously whether it's online or in person, we're all hoping for in person, that'll change a bit. But what's the process going to look like?
It'll be very similar to the way the jazz bass competition, the adult version is structured right now. We basically use that as a model because, you know, why reinvent the wheel? So, you know, they have to play one tune from various genres. We were brainstorming about which tune it was that would be like the required tune. Last time for the jazz competition, it was Glorious Step, I think, Scalafaro's tune Glorious Step. Correct me if I'm wrong, Adam. So, that's this year. Okay.
Yeah.
And so, you know, we were brainstorming about what tunes would be good bass tunes to play, and Adam had the brilliant idea of honoring Ron Carter with his Little Waltz. So that'll be like one of the required tunes, and then there'll be some blueses and stuff that wasn't, you know, not necessarily jazz influenced, but more like South American influence, straight eighth note influence type of things. Very similar to what the adult jazz competition is going to be. We also really wanted to see if we could focus on composers that were from diverse backgrounds, because of course that's something that's becoming more prevalent in people's psyches all across the music education spectrum. And of course, this being a jazz competition, how could we not do something to that effect too? It just made absolute sense to do so. So the application process is going to be similar. It's going to be at the same link, and I don't have that off the top of my head of what that
don't
link
worry,
is.
I'll link up to it. It's isbworldoffice.com if you're out on a run listening, and just click in the show notes and it'll take you to the competition page.
Exactly.
Right.
So it'll be listed there as, either next to the jazz competition or next to the youth competition or one of those things. So we're trying to make it as easy as for people as possible to do that.
Right, and along those lines, because it's a new competition, we're just going to have the preliminary round and then a final round. There's not going to be too many rounds of this, and of course everything would be submitted digitally. And we're also allowing digital background tracks if you have them, the iReal Pro app or Band in a Box, or even if you just run like LearnJazzStandards.com in the background or something to make whatever makes it work. Because it's difficult enough to get kids just to be in school right now because of COVID. So if they have it's going to be hard for them to like get a backing band. That's not disallowed, but let's be safe about it. They can play what they've got to play with the backing tracks and enter that in the preliminary round. And from that, we're going to pick, I think, upwards of 4 finalists. But here's the real cool part, and this is kind of a component along with that, is that we're also talking with Tracy Rowell about having a youth jazz bass or young jazz bassist portion of the young bassist program that we held at ISB every other year. Usually how that's structured is in the morning they're all together and they're all learning bass stuff together, like large bass ensemble stuff and general technique kind of things, and then they have breakout sessions in the afternoon. Well, this is going to be a very jazz specific breakout session throughout the week where one day you're going to learn some theory or constructing walking bass lines or constructing solos and things like that. And on top of that, of course, and I'll just go ahead and make the pitch right here, reaching out to all of our highly recognized and highly esteemed jazz bass colleagues. We would love to invite you to come and talk to these young jazz bass players throughout the week as well as part of as a component to all of these things. Because I don't know about you guys, when I was 15 years old, if I had the chance to, sit in a room with John Patitucci for an hour, I probably would have jumped over my house for that if I had to.
Yeah, that's one of the great things about the bass community in general and the ISB is just how accessible our heroes are and have been over the years. You go to that event and you really can interact with John Patitucci, John Clayton, all that, Kristen Korb, all these wonderful players. And I applaud both of you over the years. You've been such great bass organizers. I remember Miles seeing you playing back in Ithaca at the 2017 convention. Adam, I remember you 2018 out on the streets of Lucca sweating like crazy and organizing all that. So it's hard work putting together what you're doing, that's for sure. But it's really cool to see this get off the ground. It's very exciting.
Yeah, I'm completely stoked about it. I wasn't sure what the reaction from the board members or from Madeline would be about this, but everything has been absolutely, yes, let's do this yesterday. Let's get this done. So, we just sent in the final copy of the competition guidelines. I just got that to Sandor Madeline just a couple days ago. So I would be looking for that on the ISB page here not too long in the future. And again, we just started working with Tracy Rowell about the young bassist portion of ISB, which, I don't know about you guys, but I always try to push my students into joining the ISB because we're all stronger together. And if we can grab them young and just understand that they're part of a huge, larger, worldwide community of bass players. Because you guys remember in high school, you were like one of maybe 2 or 3 bass players? With an army of violinists and violists and cellists, and it's really easy at that young age to feel like, well, I guess nobody really likes us because there's only like 2 of us here right now, for whatever reason. So when you get a group of young bass players together, it's always fun for me to watch because we host like regional orchestra stuff here at Appalachian all the time, and just watching these young bass players from these different communities all get together for the first time meeting each other, and just watching the light bulb go off that, oh, I am not alone, and then, to introduce them to an organization like the ISB is just takes that one step, 20 steps further. And if we can just get them to come to the convention, I know the convention happens early in the summer before they're all out of school, but well, where there's a will, there's a way, and I think we can figure this one out.
If there's one event I can recommend to any young person, it's the ISB convention, because that in particular, everybody is there. Any school you might be interested in, you're going to discover all sorts of players that you've followed along with, their albums, follow along with them on YouTube. They're going to be there. Players and styles you might not even thought much about, they're there. The youth program, the Young Bassist program is outstanding, and it's the headliners every night are fantastic. It's so cool. So everybody should check this out. If you know any young bassist or are a young bassist or you're a young bassist mom or dad or know someone who is, isbworldoffice.com is the website. Links in the show notes. Miles or Adam, anything else you want to get out about this?
Adding on to what I was mentioning earlier, I think this is one step of bringing jazz into people's minds as being an equivalent type of music to the Western classical canon too, and we want to do that from as early an age as possible because it is one of our national art forms that was created here, and it doesn't make sense to me why we would necessarily just be studying the Western classical canon and not be studying this canon also. It's just as it's just as in depth and complicated as anything else. So I'm really excited about this. When Adam reached out to me to talk about this, I said absolutely. Just to just sort of put a little bit back into the community in that sense.
Since this is the introductory year of the Young Jazz Bassist Competition, is that we're going to offer anybody that enters into this, anybody that submits a preliminary round recording, we're going to offer them a reduced rate of $75 for the entire week of the Young Jazz Bassist program. So that's something that they offer for like the youth competition for solos. We'll be doing the same thing with jazz. A completely reduced rate for the Young Jazz Bassist program throughout the entire week of ISB.
You can learn more about it at isbworldoffice.com, and we've got links to everything in the description: Miles' website, Adam's website, the competition, all that good stuff. So thanks for checking this out.